I spent my Sunday mornings before I came to St. Paul and the Redeemer playing baseball in Washington Park. My wife and I were pregnant with our first baby, and she, having grown up Catholic, asserted that we were going to go to church and that our child and our children were going to be raised in a faith tradition. I was really pretty indifferent, and she went to a couple of churches and then came here one Sunday and came back raving about it. So I agreed to go and try, and it was fantastic. It was just the space itself was just warm and welcoming. We've got this great, arch ceiling, like the upturned hull of a ship. And, the seating in the round, I'd never seen anything like that. I'd been to church a few times in my life, maybe, 24 times. I just found this place incredibly welcoming. And then the kicker for me, the very first time I was here, this invitation to come and take communion. And, honestly, I'd never been comfortable in a church. I'd always been intimidated by church, even like scared to go to churches. There was a language that everyone spoke that I didn't know, and codes I didn't understand, and I didn't have this sense of church as inclusive. I thought of church as exclusive. This is the first place where I ever experienced church as just truly welcoming. And I did. I think I took communion the first time here and kept coming back. We kept having babies. We had a second son 3 years later. And after our first, by the way, had been baptized here. Over those 3 years between our first and second sons, about every Easter season, then Rector Jim Steen would just gently ask me if I wanted to be baptized. And I said, no, Jim, I'm just not quite ready. I naively thought that, well, maybe when Peter gets baptized on Mother's Day, Peter is our second son, maybe I'll just kind of sneak in and get a little sprinkle. And so I agreed to be baptized, and I showed up at church that Sunday. I appreciated Jim drawing me in and drawing me to the font. I think I was a seeker, and I was really, intrigued and interested and perplexed by this notion of, Jesus as Son of God, as opposed to maybe just a political rabble-rouser with great conviction and debating skills or something. The rector always indulged me in that, and we just had some great discussions, and I learned so much about Christianity and just the history of the church. I came to recognize that I really didn't necessarily have to be, super churchy to feel that I belonged and really part of the fabric of this church. Having not gone to a church, been part of a church as a child, it left a pretty big gap in my just cultural understanding and education, and I just really didn't want my kids to have that. So as I'm sharing this with my children and making sure that they've have this fundamental understanding of Western civilization, I'm learning them alongside them. It's fun.